It may look like child's play, but WhereScape is a serious business. More than 700 customers globally, with culture and networking at its core. And when a company comes from a tiny country at the bottom of the world, networking can make all the difference. WhereScape has 4 headquarters in the US, New Zealand, UK and Singapore, so the connections built by co-founder Michael Whitehead and his team are working overtime to create a globally successful software company, which he says has been profitable since day one.
We were massively ahead of our time, and really the market has only just moved to us recently. But what we had was I'd like to, if I was to rewrite history, I would call it clarity of vision. In fact, we just kind of felt that it was the right way to go about things.
WhereScape originally started as a business intelligence consultancy in New Zealand in 1997, and 5 years later expanded to also offer a data warehousing solution to help IT organizations of all sizes design, develop, deploy, and operate data infrastructure faster.
We were by then pretty good consultants, but we could see we could just be so much better if we bottled what we were doing. So that was the original, that was sort of, yes, this will work. And then the next part of it was that enables us to take over the world. It's really hard to take over the world needing more people. It's really hard to scale up. If you have to put 10 people into each customer, then you're going to run out of people eventually. But if you can put software everywhere, we can do that.
The software's automation eliminates hand coding and other repetitive, time-intensive aspects of data infrastructure projects. The US is the company's largest and fastest growing market, where clients include GE, Nike and the Dallas Cowboys. Co-founder Wayne Richmond was the technical brain behind the operation, while Mr. Whitehead grew the company around him.
I just employed more and more people, and we went out and did more and more consulting jobs. And then it was Wayne that came up with the idea of, hey, why don't we build some software to make it a lot more efficient? And so he did that and was the original developer on the software.
Along the way, venture capital firm Pioneer Capital invested into the business and now owns 50%, while Mr. Whitehead owns about 30% after buying out Mr. Richmond.
The rest is owned by staff, friends. So Wayne and I, when Pioneer came on board, we gave shares to everyone in the company that was working there at the time.
No wonder the culture at the Auckland HQ appears so strong. But over the years, the company has spent a good portion of its time trying to crack the US market, which is how Mr. Whitehead learned the importance of networks. The problem is, he says, a company based in New Zealand really has no right to secure business in the US or Europe. There are plenty of technology companies in the bigger markets, and any New Zealand company is by default a minnow swimming in a pool full of whales.
I might come and do a sales call with you, and you might think our software is fantastic, but then I disappear for a while. And all that sales is going on, and all these reasons to stop working with you are happening around it. But if you have people that know you and people that can just help you on that journey and just put a good word in for you, it makes a massive difference. So I'll give you an example. Our first US customer was Wells Fargo Bank. It came from a guy that used to work with us in New Zealand, Vince Donovan, great guy, lives in Oakland. He was doing a contract there, and he said to the Wells Fargo people, you should have a look at what my buddies in New Zealand are doing. So they said yes. So we showed them our software, and they went, short story, they went yes to buy it. Long story, it took about 2 years for us to get ready to take on Wells Fargo as a customer, but networks.
It hasn't all been easy fishing, however, Mr. Whitehead describing the company's growth as a series of steps rather than a hockey stick graph.
So for us, that's what it's been. It's like, getting the first customers on board, and then you consolidate for a while, and then you start to get international expansion, and then you consolidate for a while, and then you go to a new country or a new region and work there.
But from the beginning, WhereScape always thought of itself as an international software company, even before it had its first major overseas customer.
So the New Zealand market was never going to be big enough for us. So the initial challenge was that our view of ourselves was massively different from reality and massively different from what anyone else would think about us. So we kind of had to grow into our clothes and sort of deliver that. So that was the problem, was filling in all those bits. To be credible, like we sell to some of the largest, most well-known companies on the planet, and we thought we could do that from day one, and we actually did, but we had no right to, and it was just earning that right, earning that position. Those were huge challenges in the beginning.
The software was always going to be successful, according to Mr. Whitehead. It was just a matter of how successful. It still offers a consultancy solution, but during the company's development, the co-founders realised there was no way to become truly international if it couldn't scale. So they built the WhereScape RED and WhereScape 3D software to make their own staff's day-to-day functions more efficient. It just so happened that other companies wanted the solutions as well.
It was really ahead of the market in that concept, but that's also a huge problem on itself, because you're going to try and make a sale to someone and they have no budget for what you have. It's not a category. And we spent a long time not being able to describe what we could do. It was just it's really cool. It'll speed you up here. Let us show you what we're doing. And it's only now we sort of have a category.
In 2015, the company also came close to listing on the NZX, but pulled back after watching the dire results of fellow tech companies on the stock exchange.
The market here is funny, is very funny in it, and probably the best advice that I got from it was from Brian Gaynor, who said, you have to make a decision here, and making a decision to not do an IPO may be the bravest decision you're going to make and the best decision, but you really have to make a decision, because as we were going through there were a lot of tech companies that listed before us, and it wasn't really on our plans, on our radar earlier, so we sort of rushed to put the stuff together and then sort of looked around, and by then the market was closing. So probably the last thing was Orion listing without forecasts, and which was an interesting thing. But pretty much after that, I think the first reporting to the ASX, the price just came way down, and that just sort of closed it off for tech companies. So it just wasn't an available path there. We actually beat our forecasts without taking the cash on. So the discussion afterwards was dodged a bullet there.
So is a listing part of the game plan moving forward for WhereScape?
I'd say it's not on the path at the moment. So we're growing and profitable as a tech company here, and we can do things not in the public eye.